Breaking news! Fans were buzzing online after a report came out saying that a former Broncos player could return. Now, the question that everyone wants to know, will Von Miller return to the Denver Broncos? That's the question that's been circulating in Broncos country. But let's take a closer look at the reality behind this possibility. In my opinion, due to his advanced age, he should retire and come join the coaching staff. He would be an excellent teacher for the youngsters. If it's going to cost a lot of money to bring Miller to play, I don't know if it would make much sense. If that's Sean Payton's idea, he should sign a contract for no more than 1 year. If you agree with me, hit the like button below and comment on what your opinion is. The Buffalo Bills are considering letting go of the former Super Bowl MVP after signing him to a massive 6-year contract just a few off-seasons ago. While Miller enjoyed a slight bounce back in 2024, his 2023 season was forgettable, finishing with just 3 tackles. The Athletic recently identified him as a potential salary cap casualty, noting that without a significant pay cut, he will likely be released. Now, the emotional side of the argument is clear. Von Miller is a Broncos legend. The idea of him ending his career where it all began is undeniably appealing to fans. But would that really make sense for Denver's current roster? Let's be real. The front office that once drafted and developed Miller is long gone. This is Sean Payton's team now, and he's not one to make sentimental moves just to appease the fan base. Denver's edge rushing unit is already well stocked. Jonathan Cooper and Nick Bonitto have established themselves as starters, and the team has high hopes for young talent like Jonah Ellis and DeAndre Tillman. So where exactly does Miller fit in? If his name wasn't Von Miller and he didn't have a legacy with the Broncos, would he be part of the conversation? Probably not. And let's talk about expectations. If Miller were to return, fans would inevitably expect flashes of his prime 2015 self, but that's just not realistic. A 2024 version of Miller struggling to keep up with younger, faster competition could tarnish his legacy more than it could enhance it. The last thing anyone wants is to see a franchise icon reduced to a role player or, worse, a liability. There's also the matter of Denver's defensive philosophy. The Broncos are investing in youth, development, and long-term sustainability. Giving Miller a roster spot would mean taking away reps from young, developing pass rushers. Is that really worth it for a nostalgic reunion? Some might argue that a cheap 1-year deal could be a low-risk move, but does it serve a legitimate football purpose, or is it just an emotional decision? Of course, there's always the possibility of bringing him back on a 1-day contract so he can retire as a Bronco. That makes sense, but a genuine return to the field in orange and blue? It just doesn't add up. Now, let's hear from you. Would you bring Von Miller back to Denver? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Are you in favor of the emotional reunion, or do you think it's time to move on? And while the Von Miller debate rages on, another high-profile name has surfaced in Broncos rumors, Devante Adams. Yes, the 6-time Pro Bowler and 3-time All-Pro receiver is expected to be released by the New York Jets, opening up speculation about his next landing spot. But should Denver be in the mix? On paper, adding a receiver of Adams' caliber might seem like a no-brainer. After all, Denver's passing game has been a work in progress, and pairing a proven playmaker with a young quarterback could, in theory, accelerate the offense's development. But let's take a step back and really evaluate if this is the right move for the Broncos. First, there's the reality of Adams' production. The 2024 season was his worst statistical performance since 2020. His reception totals have steadily declined, from 123 catches to 85, and his yardage has dipped from 1,500 to barely over 1,000. That's still solid production, but the downward trend is clear. At 33 years old, Adams isn't the same dominant force that once torched defenses across the league. Then, there's the issue of chemistry. Adams' best years came in Green Bay, where he had a nearly telepathic connection with Aaron Rodgers. Even in Las Vegas, his chemistry with Derek Carr gave him a level of comfort and efficiency. But can he replicate that in Denver, especially with a young and improving quarterback like Bo Nix? That kind of chemistry takes time to develop, and at this stage of his career, Adams might not have that luxury. Another major factor? The Broncos' current receiver room. While some analysts believe Denver needs to upgrade at wide receiver, not everyone inside the organization sees it that way. Courtland Sutton had the best season of his career in 2024, providing veteran leadership and playmaking ability. Meanwhile, younger receivers are still developing, and Sean Payton may prefer to invest in their growth rather than add a veteran on the decline. Financially, Adams' potential release would create nearly $30 million in cap savings for the Jets, making it clear why they would move on. But just because he'll be available doesn't mean saying Denver should pursue him. Adams would still command a significant contract, and for a team trying to rebuild smartly, taking on a high-priced veteran with declining production might not be the wisest decision. So let's call it what it is. Bringing in Adams would be more about name recognition than actual team-building strategy. The Broncos need to be looking forward, not backward, and signing a receiver past his prime doesn't align with where they're trying to go. So, Broncos country, let's hear from you again. Would you take a chance on Devante Adams, or is he past his prime? Do you believe he could still be a game changer in Denver, or is it time for the Broncos to focus on younger talent? Drop your thoughts below. And that brings us to the bigger picture. What exactly is the vision for this Denver Broncos team under Sean Payton? The speculation around Von Miller and Devante Adams highlights a crucial debate happening in Broncos country. Should Denver focus on bringing in big-name veterans, or should they commit fully to their rebuild? If we look at Sean Payton's history, we can get a pretty clear answer. He's not the kind of coach who makes moves just for nostalgia or headlines. He wants to build a sustainable, competitive team, not one that's chasing past glory. That's why the idea of signing Miller or Adams doesn't quite fit with the trajectory Denver is on. Payton and GM George Payton have already shown a commitment to reshaping this roster with younger talent. Just look at the quarterback situation. Instead of overpaying for an aging veteran, they used a first-round pick on Bo Nix, signaling a clear shift toward a long-term approach. The same philosophy applies to other positions. Denver wants to develop talent rather than spend big on declining stars. Let's be honest, chasing past names is what teams do when they're desperate to stay relevant. The Broncos need to focus on becoming a contender again through smart roster moves, not sentimental ones. We've seen teams fall into this trap before, bringing back former stars or signing aging veterans only to watch them struggle and ultimately hurt the team's development. That's not what Denver needs right now. And let's not forget the financial aspect. Even if Von Miller were willing to take a cheap one-year deal, it still means giving up a roster spot that could go to a young pass rusher who's still developing. The same goes for Devante Adams. Sure, he might still have something left in the tank, but is it worth spending big on a 33-year-old receiver when that money could be used to strengthen the team elsewhere? At the end of the day, the Broncos need to think about the future, not the past. The idea of a Von Miller homecoming is fun, but it's just not practical. The idea of Devante Adams making a late career resurgence in Denver might sound exciting, but it doesn't fit the timeline of this team's rebuild. And if we really take a step back, this conversation is bigger than just Von Miller or Devante Adams. It's about what kind of team the Denver Broncos want to be moving forward. Are they still chasing quick fixes, or are they finally ready to build something sustainable? Because let's be real, Broncos country has been stuck in a cycle of short-term solutions ever since Peyton Manning retired. It's time to break that cycle. Think about the moves Denver has made in recent years. There was the Russell Wilson experiment, massive trade, huge contract, and ultimately, a painful failure. Before that, they cycled through veteran quarterbacks like Joe Flacco, Case Keenum, and Teddy Bridgewater, all in hopes of finding a short-term answer instead of committing to a true rebuild. The team also brought in big-name defensive players like Randy Gregory, only to see those moves backfire. But now, I want to hear from you. Are you on board with the Broncos staying the course and building for the future? Or do you think there's still room for big-name veterans like Miller and Adams to help this team in the short term? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more exclusive Broncos content. Broncos country, let's ride!